strategic costing, and we see various methods and approaches for strategic costing. That's what you will take home today. You can go ahead. Okay, so costing. First of all, what you have to understand, I'm sure you know, but it's important to remind you that revenue and cost is a twin brother or twin sister, and revenue is no value without cost control, and cost control is no value without revenue. Because in any businesses, being food and beverage or any businesses, profit can only be achieved by revenue minus expenses. So, meaning to increase profit, either you increase your revenue or you reduce your cost, or you do both. Now, if you only increase your revenue, you cannot necessarily make profit, as you know, because if your cost goes higher than your revenue, you are making a loss. If you only cut your expenses, then your quality can go down, and long-term customer will not come. So this is why, ideally, you should have what I call a revenue/expenses approach to increase your profitability. Meaning you should have a strategy-oriented market, which you increase your market share and you increase your revenue, and you should have, in the same time, a strategy to optimize your cost and not cut your cost necessarily. So that's very important to understand. And as you know, so I'm sure, already a very basic categorization of costs are variable cost, fixed cost. And of course, the question is, how low can you go? Whatever you do, there will be a level where you cannot go lower than a certain cost. So it means that if you go lower, then the quality will not be there and customer will not come. So it's important to understand both elements, that cost control and revenue should work like twin brother and twin sister. You can go ahead, Joel. So costing can be seen, first of all, from what we call from business angle, meaning cost related to customer, to employees, to product line, to processes. So meaning it's more type of cost. Customer-oriented cost, how much cost, one cost per customer, maybe depending where you are, if you're a chain restaurant, maybe depending different location, your cost can be different. The different product line, if you, let's suppose McDonald's might have different cost line per hamburger or per salads or per beverages or per coffee. So you can also cost depending per product line. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay, yes. So now let's see the cost here from just basic terminology. You all know what is variable cost, fixed cost. Let me still remind you, variable costs are the costs which depend on the activity. So meaning, if your activity goes up by 5%, your variable cost will go up by 5%. If your activity goes down by 5%, variable cost will go down by 5%. Fixed costs are costs which do not depend on the activity, like rent, like some part of labor cost. So fixed costs do not depend on the activity. They are linear like this. However, revenue goes like this, variable cost goes up like this. Then, with direct cost and indirect cost, called also distributed, undistributed cost. Direct costs are directly related to an activity. Indirect cost, or also called undistributed cost, are costs which do not depend only on one activity, but can depend or have an effect on various activities. Let's take a hotel. In a hotel, energy is an undistributed cost because energy is for housekeeping, for food and beverage, for room division. So it's not an direct cost, it's an indirect cost. Marketing the same. When in a hotel you do more marketing cost, it's an indirect cost because marketing is for all the hotel. Of course, what you can do generally, and this is already part of strategic costing, is find a way to find what we call a distribution key or an allocation key to distribute your indirect cost to what should be distributed. Let's suppose if you talk about marketing cost can be distributed as per revenue percentage to rooms and food and beverage. Energy can be distributed to a department, but also, let's suppose, per the revenue or per maybe square meter, all depends. If I take a hotel, a restaurant who has various restaurants, if you have a stewarding department and you have only one stewarding department, this will be also an undistributed cost. If you want to distribute your stewarding cost to different restaurants, then you can use the covers, because stewards washes covers, and you will distribute your stewarding cost to each restaurant based on number of covers. So meaning you should find the best allocation key or the best distribution key that you need per the cost to be distributed. It could be per revenue, per square meter, per hour's work, per number of covers, all depends. Then you have controllable cost and non-controllable cost. What does this mean? If you know, when you take a profit and loss statement, you can have the various profit level, gross profit, profit on prime cost, GOP, gross operating profit, and then below you have all other fixed costs, which give you the net profit before tax and net profit after tax. So the controllable costs are also costs a manager can impact, reduce, or increase. Generally, those costs are above the GOP level. Food cost, beverage cost, labor cost, energy cost, because you can control energy cost, cleaning cost, and so on. The non-controllable costs are the cost a manager cannot control, like rent, like interest rent, if he's not the owner of the hotel or the manager, all depends. Let's take two examples. If you are a manager and you own your restaurant, you hire a manager to manage your restaurant. The manager will only be responsible to the GOP level. Below, you are responsible, meaning you as the owner, you own the restaurant, you pay the rent, you pay the various property taxes, not the manager. So the manager will only be responsible up to the GOP level in a restaurant. Then we have recurring cost, non-recurring cost. What does it mean? Recurring costs are the costs which always come. Food cost, energy cost, labor cost, all those are recurring costs. Yearly, monthly, daily. Non-recurring costs are costs that are only time to time, meaning they are overtime costs which are incurred time to time for a specific project, or maybe for a machine you bought about 2 years ago and you pay the machine, so they are not coming every time. And then we have sunk cost and relevant cost. Sunk costs are mainly the cost which are in relation to a cost that was already paid before. It's a machine you paid 2 years ago. It's a sunk cost. You don't use it, it's a sunk cost. Or maybe you spend money on research. It's sunk cost. So you have to understand the differences of each of those costs, how they can impact your businesses. Now, if you take the variable cost and the fixed cost, of course, the costs which are most difficult to control are the fixed costs. Variable cost depends on the activity, so you can control them, but the fixed cost, you have very or almost no impact on fixed costs. The variable cost, you can control them as they depend on your activity. Next slide, please. So, now, Very often managers talk about cost cutting. I talk about cost optimization. What does this mean? This means that cost cutting for me is a way to cut cost without thinking about the customer, about the quality, about strategy. It's easy to cut cost. You say, let's buy cheaper. You say, let's put less on the dish. You say, let's fire your employee. You cut cost. For me, cost optimization, as it says here, is an effort to see your cost reduction, which will maximize your business value, but also maximize your revenue. So meaning you don't cut costs just because you are under urgency. You optimize your cost reduction on a systemic basis. What happens very often, businesses, what they do, when business is okay, they spend money without paying too much attention. And when suddenly a crisis hits like the coronavirus situation, COVID-19, they suddenly say, oh my God, what can we do? And they try to immediately cut costs. If you decide to have a cost optimization, which will be a logical way to design your costs, to understand your costs, what are they? And instead of saying, let's cut costs, you try to reduce your cost, you will maximize your business value, you will not reduce your quality because you will still give quality to customer, you will not reduce necessarily your, let's suppose, staff training, because staff training is a cost you should never reduce, because when you reduce your staff training, meaning that you reduce your quality, this is different between cost cutting and cost optimization. So please, from now on, don't talk about cost cutting, talk about cost optimization. Next slide, please. So here we have a table which is two scenarios which shows a approach from two managers who decided to have a pricing strategy on their 4 dishes. So you see here, sorry, 3 dishes. You see 3 dishes: roast chicken, grilled veal chops, salted salmon. And you see here on the first table, the manager used a food cost of 33% on each dish. And below, the manager had an approach where he said, my roast chicken, I will only have 25% food cost. However, my grilled chops, I will have 50% food cost. And my salted salmon, I will have a 33% food cost. Now, the question is, which approach is better? Now, if you see this only from a cost perspective, many people will say, I prefer approach A because I have a food cost of 33%. But it's completely wrong, because who cares if you have a food cost of 33%? Yes, of course, food cost is talk about percentages, I agree, but in the end, what's important? Is it your food cost, or is it the revenue you make and the profit you make? If you take the second table below, you will see that in the second table, for the same number of quantities sold, you made $234 revenue instead of $171. Your profit went up from $114 to $141. Yes, your food cost percentage went up to 40%, but you are making more revenue and more profit. So is that important if your food cost percentage is high? Of course it's high, but you had a different approach of selling prices, which is much more appropriate by not having the same percentage, and you are making more profit, you are making more revenue. So I prefer option 2, which is below, because in this approach, I give more value to customer. Customer buy even my grilled wheat chop because he's seeing a better price value in my wheat chops, and by this way, I'm increasing my revenue. and I'm also increasing my profit. Yes, I can still see how to reduce my food cost, which is my strategy. My strategy is I want to sell my wheat shops at 50% food cost, but by this way, I maximize my revenue and maximize my profit. So don't be upset by percentages. Many managers are upset by food cost percentages. Don't be upset by percentages. Percentages are only to compare two things in a same period of 100%. So 33 is 100% revenue, 40 is 100% revenue. I agree, but don't be obsessed by percentages. Look at how much revenue you make and how much profit you generate. And lastly, what do you put in a bank? In a bank, do you put percentages or do you put profit? In a bank, I don't put percentages. In a bank, I put dollar money. So this is why even to make just 114, 141, $30 profit, if you take this on a bigger scale, you can see how much profit you make. So don't forget, in the bank, I put money, not percentages. Next slide, please.
If you allow me, Alan, just one thing to mention to the participant. You'll find a blue bubble where it's written chat. Then please put on this chat and start writing your question. Like this, you not lose time after Mr. Najar will finish, and I will start reading your question. Then please, if you have already question or commentaries, please start it and put it on the chat. Thank you very much, Mr. Najar, please.
Okay, so we talk about cost. We saw that we talk about cost optimization, not cost cutting. We defined various categories of costs that I'm sure you are aware of, but it's important to remind this. And we saw that to have a strategic approach to pricing, you can make more revenue, more profit, even if your food cost percentage is high. Now let's see what means strategy. Next slide, please. So, strategy is refer to action and decision a company take to achieve a business goal. Every company has strategies. Every company has a company culture. Every company has strategies. Strategy help guiding decision making for attaining goal. A strategy can be, I want to be, let's say pricing strategy can be, I want to have high prices because I want to optimize my profit. Why not? Could be a strategy, exactly. So strategy is important to have a strategy, because if not, you don't know where you are going. And your employee should know also where you are going. Now, what means strategic management? You can see the definition here. So I will not talk about and will not read the definition, but strategy goes with strategic management, meaning strategy is managed by managers who should ensure that by proper management action oriented either cost of revenue, they will achieve their business goal. So your business goal can be increase my profit. Your business goal can be increase my market share. Your business goal could be more competitive on the market. So it's important to decide and to understand what is your business strategy. Where do you want to be? How do you want to position yourself on the market? Next slide, please. Now, another very funny way to understand what business strategy is the small chart you see here. Now, every company always have a vision mission. You cannot start a business without vision mission. You know, vision is very far away. Mission is how you achieve your mission. Imagine my mission is I want to be healthy. You see what is the aim? I want to reduce my weight. So maybe you want to reduce, you can say my aim is maybe to increase my revenue. Your objective is always measurable. So I say here, I want to lose so many kilo. Maybe your objective will be, I want to increase my revenue by 5% in the next 3 months. Could be an objective. Then you're going to have strategies. Here I say I want to make a diet and exercises. Your strategy could be to increase my revenue. I want to give better quality food to my customer. Then the action, which are the tactics, are how you achieve your strategies. Meaning, my action could be I want to eat no more sweets or butter, or you can say to give good quality to customer. I want to buy good food. I want to train my employee. I want to upsell my food. So meaning I have to do good merchandising to display my food correctly in my restaurant. Then we have control point where regularly on the given period you will check if you have achieved your target or you are achieving your target, and you get an award. Meaning, if in the end you achieve your objective, maybe you can give also an award or a prize to your employees. So this is a very simple manner to understand how everything is linked together. Okay, let's go. Now, what is strategic costing? So we talk about costing strategy. Now, strategic costing and not just cost cutting, okay? And very often strategic costing is also called strategic cost management, as mentioned CSM, is understanding the firm cost structure, fixed, variable, direct, indirect, and so on. Why? For having a competitive advantage on the market and using cost optimization and cost reduction, but from an intelligent way. And I will say mainly cost optimization. And for this, you have to collect data, you have to analyze, to understand your business, you understand your direct cost, indirect cost, sunk cost, relevant cost, permanent cost, not permanent cost, and so on, like we said before. So recurring cost, your non-recurring cost. So you have to understand your cost structure. Next slide, please. Now, so strategic cost management have various pillars: SWOT and PESTEL, Porter value chain analysis, KPIs, cost-benefit analysis, ABC analysis, and balance scorecard that we'll try to see now together in the remaining time. So next, please. Now, you all know what is SWOT: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Very often people misunderstand this. It's important to understand that strengths and weaknesses are only internal, opportunity and threats are only external. Now, you have regularly to do those type of analysis to understand in your company, what is opportunity on the market? Can I do some joint venture? Can I find maybe a company on the local market where I can buy the food better? How is the environment? Can I maybe use another technology to help me work more efficiently? Those are PESTEL analysis, and meaning you find on the market the opportunity which can help you work more efficiently. The strengths and weaknesses are your internal. Do I have maybe a very good chef? Maybe I have a very trained employees. Maybe I have a very good building. Maybe I have excellent bed. I have a very good culture. Those are my strengths and weaknesses. So it's important to understand how your strengths and weaknesses, opportunity and threats will make you different on the market. Continue, please. Now, KPIs. Every company has KPIs. You know what are KPIs? Key performance indicators. Why do we need KPIs? Because if you know KPIs, you don't know where you are going. It's like someone going to the doctor and the doctor will not give a medicine to a patient. He will first take his temperature and other measurable element to know what medicine to give. So in any company, you need KPI to understand where you are going. So I divided KPI in those different categories. First, occupancy KPI. In a restaurant, occupancy is covers, is seat turnover, is your restaurant occupancy percentage, meaning what's your occupancy like in a hotel? Is it 50%, 40%, 30%? Of course, the calculation, we cannot go in the calculation, but those are the three key occupancy KPIs: covers, seat turnover, restaurant occupancy. Revenue, sales mix is very important. You should every day know your sales mix, because by knowing your sales mix, you will know which dish is sold better or no, and knowing the profitability of each dish, you can decide also through a money engineering approach to maybe reduce some dish and put new dish in the place. So sales mix is a very, very important ratio that you can get from your cash register. RevPAS or RevPAS, meaning revenue per available seat or revenue per available seat hour. That's something very important many companies uses today. It's similar like in a hotel, we have revenue per available room. In a restaurant, we say revenue per available seat, but also per available seat hours. Then the average check or average spending per head, and revenue per square meter is very important. This mainly from an investor point of view, who will invest in a square meter, and he wants to know how much every square meter brings him. You have a restaurant, of course, you have to calculate your average check, your seat turnover, but you have to know how much the square meter brings you. Mainly it's important for banqueting space, because in banqueting space, to know your average check is that important, because in a space you can do different type of banqueting. In a banqueting, you sell space, meaning square meter. So don't forget, mainly in banqueting rooms, to calculate your revenue per square meter. Then we have cost KPIs that we saw before: fixed cost, variable cost, direct cost, indirect cost, occupancy cost, controllable cost, non-controllable cost, and so on. Then you have various profit KPIs. You have gross profit, which is your first level profit, meaning revenue minus food and beverage cost. Then you have profit on prime cost, meaning revenue minus food cost, beverage cost, and minus labor cost. As we know, labor cost is very important. And we have GOP, which is your gross operating profit in a restaurant. And we have net profit. And of course, we have productivity ratio on employee. Productivity ratio are very important. It's very often output divided by input, revenue per employee, revenue per hour, covers per employee. All those are productivity ratio. You should calculate regularly to know how each employee are working, because those are very, very important. Next, please. Now, let's see the various methodology to achieve this strategic cost management. Next, please. So, we talk about SWOT analysis, strengths and weaknesses. This Porter value chain is a typical tool to analyze your business internally. So this is only for strengths and weaknesses. It's written SW. Now, any company, being high-tech, not high-tech, are like this. Meaning, any company has support activities, which are the logistic for the primary activities to function correctly. Meaning, any company have a firm infrastructure. They are maybe a chain, not a chain. Maybe they are in different countries. They have a culture. They have a very strong cash flow. They have a lot of liquidity. So it's the firm infrastructure. Then every company have HR. You cannot work without HR. Then of course technology could be AI, artificial intelligence. You can have robotization, but you need technology. And procurement, meaning you have to buy product in a restaurant. In a restaurant, you have to buy food. You have to buy raw product in a restaurant, to produce the raw product, to do the finished product, to sell it to the customer. So procurement. Who are your supplier? That's key. Are you buying from the right supplier? Nowadays that we are in the COVID situation, please remember, study your supply chain management, because this is the main element today now with the COVID-19 company will have to work on. How do they want to buy? Why should I buy always outside? Can I buy locally now? Maybe it's much better. I will not pay transportation. I will not have footprint, but I will buy locally. So after COVID-19, every restaurant should think about how they will do their procurement. And believe me, more and more companies should think about nowadays how they should now procure more local food instead of buying everything outside. Then, beside procurement, this is of course your purchasing. The primary activity are inbound logistic, meaning how do you receive your food and how do you receive your food, meaning your raw product, how do you receive them, where do you store them. The outbound logistic is how you distribute your product on the market, and the operation is how do you transform your product to outbound logistic, meaning you have raw product, how do you transform your raw product to finished product to sell it on the market. Then you have marketing and sales, and you have services. Now, when we call about outbound logistic, which is distribution, what is important to understand is that if you can have two types of strategy. You can have the push strategy or the pull strategy. What does it mean? Push strategy means you produce and you sell on the market, independent on the demand. And you say, I produce, I sell, I will see what happens. But it's risky because you can produce, but maybe there is no demand. So ideally, it's better to have the pull strategy where you produce only on demand. By this, you can also control your cost, and you can also, by this, optimize your planning, your purchasing, and be more profitable and reduce wastage. It's very, very important. So think about how do you produce. McDonald's is an example, very good example, where now McDonald's learned from their previous way of operation, and where before they were producing and putting the burger on the shelf, and the product was waiting on the shelf for 20 minutes, and if it was not sold, was gone, was thrown to the garbage. Now McDonald's, with big data technology and artificial intelligence, they know exactly to the second what to produce, and they know exactly with the big data when the customer will come, and by this they can really produce the food only on demand, and automatically by this they reduce the wastage. So think about how do you want to produce. So this analysis is very important and can be done in any businesses, because actually in any businesses it will be structured like this. Even technology businesses is structured like this, because even take Airbnb have also infrastructure, have also HR at the back, have also technology because they have also a very strong software to sell the rooms. Of course, their procurement is they fund also hotel room, also room around the world. Their inbound logistic is to give to customer ready rooms for customer to rent, which is various villa or apartment, depending where it is. The operation, of course, they don't produce rooms, but maybe once customer leave, they maybe to go and repair some room, depending what it is. The outbound logistic is how do they sell the room to the customer, marketing and sales, and services. So any businesses is structured the same way. So you have to important to understand how your business function. Next slide, please. Now, ABC costing. ABC costing is understanding which item in your store has the highest value. It's a way which goes from traditional costing to a more strategic costing management. It's called activity-based costing and also ABC costing linked to the storekeeping. You will see now, and I will tell you how it works in the two approaches. If I say activity-based costing, meaning we have to know exactly each activity, how much it costs. If I take help identify product line or customer segment, meaning you in a business, you should know exactly how much it costs you to serve a customer from this segment or a customer from this segment. Imagine you have two segments of customer. You have families and you have, let's suppose, maybe businessmen. You have to know, ideally, if you want to do the activity-based costing, you have to know how much it costs you to serve your family segment and how much it takes you to cost the business segment. By this, you can know which segment is more profitable. Is it your family segment or is it your business segment? You can also do this by product line. If you have different restaurants, you have, let's suppose in your hotel 3 restaurants, you should know exactly which restaurant is making more profit. This is also called activity-based costing, meaning you will have your direct cost, you will also use your indirect cost that will allocate from a distribution key to your each restaurant, because maybe you have 3 restaurants, maybe restaurant A is making a lot of profit, maybe restaurant B is making just a little profit, but maybe restaurant C is making a lot of loss. Then what should you do with this restaurant? So meaning, if you are running in a hotel different restaurant or in a chain you have different restaurant, you should know exactly which restaurant make more profit, less profit, to work on this and eventually to get rid of this non-profit line. Nestle sell many of their non-profit products because those non-profit products are not anymore necessary. So they get rid of some business unit. So maybe in your business, you should get rid of some business unit because they are not profitable. Or maybe you should get rid of some geographical location because they are not profitable. Now, in a storeroom, more related to food and beverage, in a storeroom you have food. Now, what you should know, in a storeroom, I don't store food, I don't store material, I store money. Because in a storeroom, all your product costs money. And what is important is, how do you control your money? And your financial manager will tell you, why do you have too much stock? Why do you carry too much money? Because you can buy locally and you can buy every 2 days instead of buying too much. So meaning, understand that, of course, you store in your store linen and product and bed and tablecloths and food product, but you store money. So you have to control the money. And what means ABC analysis from a store perspective? You will have A category item, which are your item with highest value. Those items are like maybe caviar, salmon, meat. Those items have represent a smallest part smaller part of your store item, but however, they represent the high cost. So meaning you have to control how you buy them and how you control them to avoid stealing. Then you have the B category item. There's an item which have a medium cost, and the C category item are the item like maybe big bag of rice, big bag of flowers, maybe big oil container, maybe big bag of sugar. To carry in your store a high level of category C is no problem. Why? Because the category C item doesn't cost too much money. You don't buy 50 kilo rice bag every day. You don't buy 50 kilo of sugar bag every day. So to carry some category C item in your store is not a problem. But you should not have in your store too much meat, too much caviar, too much salmon, too much truffle or other high expensive item, because those items, if they are disappear, if they got lost, if they are wasted, they will impact your food cost and your profitability. So control item based on ABC category linked to what we call the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20 rule. 20% of your product range brings 80% of your revenue. 20% of your store item represent 80% of your store value. Like I said, caviar, salmon, meat maybe. So if 20% of your store item represent 80% of your store value, it's on those items you should have the highest control. So link please the ABC analysis to the Pareto principle 80-20 law and consider doing an activity-based costing per product line, customer segment, and maybe also per restaurant type in a hotel. That's one methodology to control your cost strategically. Please, next slide. Then, cost-benefit analysis is a process to use to analyze decision to see and to compare your cost to how much benefit it brings you. Here you have a small example. You want to start a new project. You have a certain number of staff, but your staff has difficulty to cope with the new project. You want to hire a new staff member, but how much will cost you to hire a staff member, and will the cost compare to the benefit you will make? How does it compare? If the staff member you will hire will be higher than the benefit you will make, then you have to review your project differently. If the staff member you hire, yes, will cost you money, but still in the end, maybe not immediately, but at a certain medium term or short term, the benefit you will make is higher, then why not? So please compare the cost of the staff to the benefit you will get from the project. This is called cost-benefit analysis. Next slide, please. Here is more with figures. You have two projects. One project costs 6,000, one project costs 9,000. The total benefit this is a simple approach. You can have a more complicated approach to the calculation. I took a very simple approach. Total cost 60,000, 9,000, benefit 11,000, 19,000. Cost benefit ratio 180 to 11, meaning you divide your benefit by your cost. So meaning in this approach, as you divide your benefit by your cost, even if it costs more money, meaning it costs 9,000, as the benefit you get is 2.11, meaning your project 2 is much better and you should invest in project 2. This is also another way to see the cost benefit analysis. Next slide, please. So in the cost benefit analysis, there are 5 steps. You determine your cost linked to a project. very often it's related to project, the cost benefit analysis. You have a project, you determine how much it costs, then you calculate the benefits, you compare cost and benefits, you compare if you have other alternative, and then you take decision, should I do or not to do. Let's take an example in food and beverage. You can take maybe 2 events you do during a year, events A, events B. In the end of the events, you compare the benefits of the 2 events compared to the cost of the 2 events, and then you decide which event was better and which event I can carry on next year, because maybe the other event did not bring me enough profit, so it's not easy and it will not be beneficial next year. So between 2 events, I prefer to keep events B instead of events A. Next slide, please. Now, this balance scorecard is really the final of the strategic costing. As I said to you, very often we don't link cost analysis to strategy and to vision and to mission. But everything is linked in a business. So the balance scorecard, which was written by Kaplan, and there are many books about this, and you can find many articles on internet, link financial perspective to customer perspective, to business perspective, and to learning growth in a company. So I will not go too much into detail how it works, but you can see here that everything is linked together, meaning if you take a financial decision, let's suppose if you say, I want to reduce my training budget. Yeah, but reducing your training budget will impact your customer satisfaction. So what happens? I want to increase my profit, financial objective. Okay, but to increase my financial perspective, to make more profit, how can I do? Okay, as I said, I can increase my profit by reducing my cost. Okay, but as I say, if I reduce my training budget, my staff will be unhappy, my staff will not give good service, my customer will be unhappy, and I will not maybe increase my profit. So everything is interrelated, meaning it's like what you call the butterfly effect. But the butterfly effect is every movement of butterfly affect everything in the world. The example now is the COVID, and you can see how by a COVID viruses, we are so much globalized that we are impacted by everything, and we have to now find a way maybe to also work differently. But in a business world, looking more from an internal perspective, every action is interrelated, from learning to internal, from internal to customer, from customer to vision, and from vision to finance, from finance to customer, from customer to business process, and from business process to learning growth and perspective. So don't forget, and this is related to budget. That's the last thing I want to say, budget. When we do budget very often every year, you all go to a budget process. In August, you start doing budgeting. But how often did you look budgeting, did you link budgeting to your strategy? Very often what do you do in the budgeting? You say, okay, in 2020 I made so much revenue, how much revenue I should make in 2021? Then you say, in 2020 I had so much food cost. How much food cost I want, in 2021? But no way in the, and I did budgeting for 15 years. I know what I'm talking. I made a lot of mistakes. I learned from my mistake. And very often in budgeting, you only mingle figures, you play with figures to please your manager and to please your shareholders, to make your budget looks nice. Oh, I made a nice budget. But you never in the budget think about how every action you take in the budget will impact all the perspective you see in the balance scorecard. So please, from now on, when you do a budgeting, think not backward, think forward, and every action you take in a budget, every cost you want to save in a budget, every cost you want to increase the budget, linking to your various perspectives of the balance score, and see if I increase this, what will be the impact? If I cut this, what will be the impact? Negative, positive. Always ask this question in your budgeting. If you don't ask this, you are doing a normal budgeting, but you're not doing what I call strategic cost management. Next slide, please. And last part, when you do this, ask yourself, how do you want to position yourself on the market? Do you want to be in the broad market or in the narrow market, meaning niche market? Ask yourself, do you want to be a cost leadership or a differentiation strategy? Sorry. Walmart, as we know, is one of the biggest retailers which is known for the cost leadership strategy. If I take differentiation strategy, is more about luxury product. So also when you do your strategic costing, ask yourself, where do you want to be? How do you want to position yourself? This is also part of the strategy linked to your costing and to your strategic costing. Even in cost leadership, you can give quality, but you more emphasize on having good product at low cost. Why not? But again, what type of restaurant do you want to be? Do you want to be a low-cost restaurant but still giving good product to customer? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a McDonald's? Do you want to be a Starbucks? Or do you want to be a high-ending restaurant? Do you want to be a Citizen Zen? Or do you want to be a Ritz-Carlton? What do you want to be? So ask yourself, how do you want to position yourself on the market? Next slide, please. So what I've tried to explain you in about 1 hour, except the time we lost, and I apologize again, is really your costs are something like it's something that lives. The cost is not static. Costs live. Cost is something dynamic. So if you only see your cost as number crunching, you say, let's put here 5% less, 5% more, and it will, no. Cost is something dynamic, and cost is something that you should really take care of. And it's not only just mingling figure, but really understanding the cost structure in the business, how it impacts your business, not only short term, but long term, and how it will impact your business competitivity from a long term perspective. That's what I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan. Let's go now directly to the question, because we have a lot of questions. We'll start it with Miki Mitrovic. She's asking you, what is the best way to cost optimize when restaurants are opening with less than 50% of the anticipated customer? Is it possible? That's what it's a lot of questions just to be aware. It's about the COVID-19 period and what to do.
Of course, exactly. No, of course. I mean, you know, if your restaurant will open now only at 15% 50% occupancy, then mainly first look mainly at your offering. So meaning, I suppose now, as I know you have some limitation to open your restaurant also with this social distancing, think about maybe first review your offer, give good offering, but maybe less quantity. Don't have a menu which is too big. Maybe shorten your menu list. Maybe say to the customer, now my new menu is now a menu with only 3 starter, 3 main course, 3 dessert, which will change every day, instead of a menu where we have 15 starter, 15 main course, 15 dessert, which makes more mise en place, more wastage. So I will say the main approach, first of all, is work on your menu proposal and reduce your menu offering. Customer will understand, don't worry. Secondly, also, I would ask you maybe to work on reservation. Take reservation. Work only on reservation. Because by working on reservation, then also, first of all, you can also make sure to know when customer will come and may also match your distance learning. And also by working on reservation, then you know exactly how many customers will have during a certain period, and then you can optimize also your buying and your production. That's how I will answer to the first question.
In fact, you already answered when you show the ABC costing and the Pareto rules, because that you have to keep in mind. You have to know also something in Romania and Serbia. It's amazing that you go in some medium restaurant and the menu are these kind of telephone books.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible, exactly. Yeah.
And if for everybody, you have to know that if you go in a high gastronomic restaurant, sometimes you have not more than 3 menus. Okay, and they are they can make money like this, but not with hundreds of possibilities. Thank you very much for this first question. A general question is coming from Jonas Platon. He is asking what to do when you are a manager and your owner is coming all the time and asking you to cut the cost. What is the trade-off between the owner and the manager regarding costing?
Can you repeat the question? I did not hear properly.
Yes, then the question is regarding the negotiation between the owner and the manager, where the owner is coming and making pressure on the manager to cut the cost, and the manager do not know how to figure this and to do it better, keeping what is necessary. So
to answer this question, I will refer to what I showed before about my pricing strategy. I think the document I showed you about my pricing strategy is a very good example where even if your cost percentage is a bit high, you can still make profit. So I suppose you should show to your owner that, first of all, cutting cost will not give quality. That's very clear. That there are enough study showing that cutting cost at a certain level will reduce quality and will make customer not coming back. But with my example of and doing what I call your cost benefit analysis and also your ABC costing going in detail, and also, as I said, referring to my presentation where I had the two pricing strategy, you can show to your manager that maybe your cost percentage is a bit high, but you make more profit. So it's up to you to make your work. It's up to you to do some analysis. It's up to you to put together your cost, your revenue, your profit together and show that even with a high percentage of cost, you can still make higher profit. And I think customer owner will understand by this.
Okay, Olja is coming with a question I think that you already answered. It's what kind of vision in our business about your opinion can be applicable in the circumstance of COVID-19. Do you have to add something about this or where did the answer to this?
No, I mean, I suppose, I'm reading many articles now during COVID about strategy to face COVID. And I think customer wants, first of all, security. Customer wants to be assured that when he will come to your place, he is secured. But customer will understand also that it is this situation, you cannot give the same offering. So customer will understand that you are maybe changing your menu. Even in a gastronomic restaurant, you are doing something different, but quality. So ensure customer that you are still giving quality at the price he's paying. And don't necessarily reduce the price. Because price reduction, and I know that I participated before to one or two webinars as a participant, and price reduction, also Mr. Tsuri last time he said last week that price reduction is sometimes dangerous, okay, yeah. So I don't want to do here what I call yield management, but sometimes it's better to give higher price but good quality, yeah. So be careful, because if you reduce your price too much, how can afterwards again you can increase price, you cannot. So be careful if you reduce your price too much.
Then Leah Suchush is adding this in the top of this question also for this period, how to attract and to create more demand.
So I suppose to attract more demand in this difficult period, it will take time. Of course, I mean, it will not just happen like this, okay, yeah? But I'm confident that customer will come if again they see that you are doing the right, so do the right communication. So I think communication is very important. How do you communicate? So use the right word, use the right communication approach. Don't give false promises. It's better to promise less and to give good than to promise more and to give less. So promise less, but say, come and you will see, and give some example. You can maybe, I don't know if you do this in Romania, but maybe work either together with a restaurant association or hotel association, or maybe alone by yourself, work maybe on a kind of accreditation to show your customer that you've done everything necessary to prevent health. And maybe find your own labeling, maybe show that you work with various health organizations to really ensure health in your department. But maybe find a labeling, I don't know, either globally or alone. But make sure customer is aware you are doing everything necessary to satisfy him when he will come to your place.
Another question related to this one, very interesting. In the comment, it was you mentioned about the revenue for available place. Then that will be definitely reduced in this period, but the acquisition price are not going down. Therefore, profits will be lower. How to manage this situation?
No, which situation?
Then the situation that the acquisition price are still the same, but you'll have less customer in your restaurant. Then the indicator about the revenue bar for available place, it's much more reduced. But you have to pay the same thing for everything.
I know, but I mean, in the end, again, let me tell you differently. I know that the big dilemma is between owner and managers, and it's always very difficult to show to owners that profit is not the only result which is important, but many owners want only short-term profit. Okay, yeah, and I suppose that it will take a bit time to increase revenue per available seat or revenue per acquisition. It will not come immediately, okay, yeah? So, but again, you reduce, I mean, you have an obligation. Nowadays, in a 60-place restaurant, you cannot put 60 seats. You can put only 30 customers because, again, this is a rule which is imposed by government telling you have to follow distance per customer. So this is not in your hand. Now, even if with only a less number of customers, you can show that your revenue per available seat is what it was before COVID, you can convince your manager, your owner. You can say, yes, I know there are less customers, but however, here is the example. I'm still making the same revenue per available seat, but yes, the seat number decreased. So the seat number decreased, your revenue increased. So revenue per available seat still remains the same. Of course, for a less seat number, I know, but this is something you cannot change. Okay, so I'm not really sure that your revenue per available seat will go down. Meaning, you will take your revenue, but you should not divide your revenue by the old number of seats. You should divide your new revenue by the new number of seats, because automatically your number of seats went down. So you have to be logical in your calculation.
Okay, there are two questions now, much more in F&B part, hotels, than to war in Romania, for instance. They will open hotels, but also in Serbia, but not the restaurant. And the only option will be room service. Okay, what will be the strategy now in room service in order not to disappoint your customer and to reduce cost anyway? Then it's a question coming from Dan Stenga and from Mihai Moisescu about
Okay.
the room service menu.
About room service menu. I mean, okay. Room service have always been a nightmare in hotels because room service generally is the less profitable department in a hotel. And very often, room service food is not very good. It's very often charged high price, even more than in a restaurant, but with not very good food. And I know this also traveling very much in I know that food in room service is not very good. So again, what I will say is that reduce your room service offering. Again, don't have a big room service offering. Have maybe only 2 starter, 2 main course, 2 dessert, but good quality at right price. And then you can achieve customer satisfaction. It's not necessary to put 5 sandwiches and 5 salad and 10 spaghetti and I don't know what. You have in nowadays, and I was looking for an article on my computer when you were asking the question to find the article, which I can share later on the website, and you can find this article later on the website. Believe me, every marketing strategy I read about COVID recovery says, reduce your offering in the beginning. If not, you will not succeed. You cannot now start room service offering with the same offering. So give less food, but better quality.
Regarding the quality, Alan, there is another interesting question because the quality is not given just by the food, but also by the services. And the question is relating to the people. When the restaurant will start reducing people, they have to start from where? From the people multi-skilling, then they are much more expensive, or from the people that are really in line. In fact, I realize that we know how to calculate the value by customer and by place, by everything, but we are not really calculating the value by employees, in fact. What is your advice on this?
But is this for a new restaurant or just in this situation?
No, in this situation, and this is a real question each time it's coming when also the conflict with the top management, because you appreciate somebody with multi-skilling, but you have to invest in having somebody multi-skilling. And people, they have the feeling that if they are not paying a lot of money, the waiters, for instance, they are making a lot of money. Then what is the trade-off in having somebody really, really very good and multi-skilling, and you have to fire him at the beginning because it's much more expensive, and to keep the other people that they are cheaper, let's say? What is the politics in restaurant now?
So what I know, and not only in Romania, but all around the world, even in Switzerland, people in food and beverage are paid low salaries. That's something known from ages. Even when I used to work in hotels, people in food and beverage were the people getting the less salary, and it have not changed even after 30 years. One thing has to be clear. If you hire employee with bad salary, you will get bad results. The only solution, and there is no miracle, you like it or no, there is no miracle. If you want to give good service, you should definitely hire the right person who, what I say, have love to serve, meaning know how to smile and understand that service is a passion, and I call this love to serve. And I can tell you, going to many restaurants, I'm amazed to see nowadays how many employees don't know how to smile and don't have this love to serve. And based on this, you have to, yes, maybe pay a bit higher salary, which in the end will be fine in the benefit, in the profit, and something you should not reduce. And I know that this also was mentioned in one of your webinar, Ray, last week or the week before, is don't reduce your training budget. I have an article from an American speaker who says, is training more important than marketing? His name is Jim Sullivan. And I believe that yes, training is a bit more important than marketing. Let me tell you why. Marketing is what? Marketing is doing research, but it is also attracting people to your business. If you do a lot of marketing, people come to your business, but the employees are not trained, are not qualified. What will happen? They will give a bad service. What will happen? Customer will go out and will talk to other customer that the service was not good. So, if you do the contrary, you train people correctly to give good service. First of all, your employee will be satisfied. You will reduce staff turnover because we know that in food and beverage, staff turnover is very high. So you will reduce staff turnover by employee satisfaction. Employee will give a better service. Customer will be more happy. We'll talk about on the market. People will come back by free advertising. In the end, you will increase your revenue and increase your profitability because why? Because maybe yes, in the beginning you spend a bit more money on training, but in the end you reduce staff turnover. Staff turnover in the States, staff turnover can cost to businesses up to $3 billion in a company of 500 employees. Why? Because you have to hire new staff, you have to train them, you have to, again, advertising to find new staff. So the only way is don't reduce your staff, hire the right staff, train your staff, and in the long run, believe me, your profit will increase, your revenue will increase.
You already answered to Yelena. She's asking, in fact, the same thing. How would you encourage trust and loyalty among employees when management is focusing on cost cutting due to COVID? That it's already the answer in what we explained. But let me challenge you with something that is coming a question regarding what you say. If I'm opening just a room service and my restaurant is closed in my hotel, why I have to care about the quality of my staff? Because they do not do the same thing as in the restaurant. They have just to bring the food in the rooms.
Yeah, but still, I mean, no, they have to bring food in the room. I agree, okay, yeah. But I mean, I work in room service, okay, and I train people in room service. The way you enter in the room service, the way you treat the customer, you say hello to the customer, the way you present the food. I mean, there are two ways. Either you enter the room, talk, it's me. You bring the trolley, you leave the trolley, you leave. No, but you have to enter the room. You have to say to the customer, hello, sir, how are you doing? I've been a nice day today. It's very nice to have you here. This is your trolley. Is this okay? So meaning you have to make a show. You have to be a theater. So you need an employee who can do this theater. It's not just bring the trolley and just go. No, it's even in room service, you have to treat customer in a correct manner to make him happy.
Okay, let's take a last question from the floor. If somebody want to ask orally another question, because I finished with the written question. Then to what, do you have something, Ionuț, what did you want to say? It's like compare Uber with a taxi. Yeah, it's in a way, yeah, it's exactly the same thing. Then did somebody want to ask a final question orally? If you want something, raise a hand and to ask a question. Okay, I see that there is no further questions. That let's go to take home your conclusion. Very nice, that I like it a lot. That because you show it very clearly with figures in a table, increasing profit is the most important thing. and is not always related to decrease the cost. A lot of top managers, they are doing this mistake. They are going directly to cutting costs, thinking that it's the only way to increase the profit. All the stupid people can do this. A clever guy, a good manager, is creating new business instead of cutting just cost. We have to cut the cost, as we understand from your presentation, what it's irrelevant cost, and we are putting a lot of money for products that you cannot sell it, but not to cut cost when you have good employees, when you have some good product, and not to reduce the quality because you'll be a drama in this new period. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alan. This will be my question.
You are very right, and on top of this, you are in a very competitive market. So if now when you start again after COVID, you start bad, customer will not come back. So meaning, as we are in a world where competitivity is very strong, if to cover from COVID, you only cut cost, you will not give quality, customer will not come back. So it's important now to start strong with really showing to customer that you care about him, and to show to customer that you really want him to come back to your place. And how can you do this? By love to serve, and by saying to customer, thank you to come to my place, you are welcome, I'm doing everything possible to make you satisfied. That's how customer will come back again to your place.
Thank you very much, Alain. Thank you, everybody, and see you Friday. Everybody will have a live discussion with Professor A. Pitsam from Florida State University about hospitality culture in health and retailing. Very interesting for you to learn new things, how to sell your knowledge in another market. Professor Alain Najjar, thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Not longer face-to-face.
Thank you very much.